So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something to start with. I represent my country legit. That's why you see a Nigerian flag here. I love the AES. I'm a Nigerian. This is to tell you that some of us Nigerians, we love what you're doing over there, right? That's why we're giving you our unwavering support. We are brothers from different mothers. But if you trace our ancestry, yeah, we're still on the same page. So we love you and we are giving our support. I dedicated my entirety to this cause because I know if it's good for Mali, if it's good for Burkina Faso, if it's good for Niger, it's good for us too. You get what I'm saying? So I love you guys, and that's why I'm throwing myself all in to support you guys, right? So let's go to the latest information we have coming out of Mali, right? I know a lot of people have been like, talk about Burkina Faso, oh, talk about Niger. No, let's do what let's start right here. We have an information about the United States, and this is coming after the Malian Minister for Foreign Affairs visited the Venezuelan president to further solidify, the ties between Mali and Venezuela after the meetings with Russia. I think very soon the meeting will be with the Brazilian, even though the Brazilians have sent their entourage to Mali, I think the AES states, I won't say they are non-alliant, but I would say they are more like with the BRICS. Do you get what I mean? But they ain't aligned with nobody yet. But when you look at the strategic move that the AES states are moving, and with the capability they carry, I can tell you this, that the AES are more like a brick, like, they are going to break it at the end of the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with what just happened, right? The United States just proposed. Now, this proposal is coming through an envoy of the United States, and that is directly from the president, right? So, the envoy of the United States, I just brought a message to Mali. The U.S. proposed to set up a school of journalism in Mali. A school of journalism, right? To train up Malians in journalism. That is the essence of the United States, setting up a school of journalism. In my own opinion, I will tell you after this what I feel about the whole idea of the United States trying to set up a school of journalism in Mali, right? I don't like the idea at all, but ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. The United States sent representatives to Mali to express an intention to form greater defensive partnership. And ladies and gentlemen, don't get it twisted. When the United States talks to Mali, Mali being the confederal head of the Alliance of Sahel, it means they are addressing the three nations altogether, right? Send representatives to Mali to express an intention to form greater defensive partnership. Now, come with a counter offer. Now the United States is coming with a counter offer. That in order to execute all this project, Mali, we have to work with ECOWAS. I don't know what the proposal is. I don't know to what extent the United States wants Mali to work with ECOWAS. A lot of you must have been seeing something recently that the ECOWAS is now making a preemptive measure that in the year 2027, all the ECOWAS states will now be using one currency called the ECO. I believe that. Let me tell you what I feel about all these moves. I see panic right here. I feel like these three states in West Africa are so important there to where it's like the whole non-alliance movement of the AES is sending so much shockwave, economic shockwave, to the whole ECOWAS, African Union, EU, because it's all the same thing. Just different stratum of the same whole, chaotic sphere. So I believe that these three states, they carry so much power to the point where they're not aligned to the colonial cause, has really, really sent the relationship of Europe and Africa into what I call a demolition course. Because if things continue like this, you will only have more countries that will continue to get educated about what true patriotism is. And before you know it, the time of Europe will be up in Africa. It's supposed to have been up for a long time, but neocolonialism was the newly invented, way of colonizing Africa. And when they talk about the interest, you're talking about the resources. Nobody likes you as an African. No, it's not your beauty. It's about your resources. And that is the only thing of interest they have. And you are supposed, as Africans, to leverage on that thing that you have to earn your respect. So let's go forward. Why is the United States, of all things the United States can give to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, is it reasonable that the only thing you can propose is that you want to bring a school of journalism? What do you want to teach anybody about journalism in Africa? You want to teach us how to tell our stories? Look, I'm going to tell you this. The former finance minister of France said something when all these things started ramping up, and you started having lights started going out in France, and they were complaining about heat wave and all of that. I knew the uranium stockpiles have been touched up. So they were talking about that if Emmanuel Macron don't stand his ground, that migration is going to transverse and their grandchildren is going to be coming to Africa to seek their means of livelihood. It actually went viral. Now, what I do feel about this is, I think the proof is in the pudding. It's looking more like it. The Russian president also said something similar to that, but in a different way. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't lie to you. I see everything about trying to bring the school of journalism to Mali. I see it as being dangerous. It's like you're trying to train, because you have to hone the media. For you to control you have to control the narrative. If the United States train you on how to give out your information, it affects because these are the people that indoctrinate what type of man is going to be very, very bad for Africa. In my own opinion, I think our education system has been messed up for too long. Because if you look at Nigeria now, everything about Nigeria is so messed up. I'm not going to lie to you. About our education system, we're actually smart people. Nigerians are smart. I can't start telling you how smart Nigerians are, because the record is out there. Nigerians are smart to the point that they are now reverse engineering their smartness to do things that a lot of people don't like. But it shows you how little the smartness of Nigerians can be. But I still think the smartness of Nigeria and everything about Nigeria has some things to do with the United States, right? The music, everything. It's always, Nigeria is like that country that is next to like, if you want to compare a country to the United States in Africa in terms of the people, the dressing, everything, you talk about Nigeria, right? Nigeria is almost like it. Their bases are in Nigeria, everything, right? But the problem is, I'm just saying my own opinion, I wouldn't want the United States to build a school of journalism in Mali. If they want to build a school of journalism in Mali, build it. Don't send a United States staff. Leave it to the people. Build a structure. Bring in the equipment. Leave the people of Mali to train themselves on what message they should pass across to themselves. Train them on. Don't even give them any training. Sorry, my bad. Let them do what they want to do. Give them the infrastructure. Then disembark from there. In my own opinion, I'm just saying, I don't know, you guys might have a better opinion, right? But what I feel is, if the United, instead of giving aids, right, give them an institutional capacity when it comes to journalism, and you are not going to meddle in the business, then go back to your country and face your citizen. Oh, the great United States, you've done that for Mali, right? And let them do their thing. See how much they can do with their media. Right, Africa too need media. We need media because there's a lot of things going on. The reason why I'm doing this is because it will be a slap. Because most of the time when you find the counterterrorism information out there, is only from fake Western propaganda sources. Right, you have Al Jazeera telling big lies all over the place. And that's the thing about Africa. They want to tell your stories. That is why the former French finance minister had the guts to say Africa are people without history. Because we don't tell our own stories. So that is why we actually made this effort to tell our own stories how it is. When it comes to the Nigerian counterterrorism, I am going to give you the story as if you are on the front line. I promise you that. You get what I mean? Nobody will tell our stories to us. And let me tell you something. African stories, they are better than the Hollywood stories. Since you all have been listening to my counterterrorism information here, how do you feel? It's more like you're watching some Hollywood movies, right? Nobody will tell our stories better than us. It's just a promise I'm making right now. So another thing that the United States did is that they sent representative to give their intention to the Malians that they want to form a greater defensive partnership. Yeah, I know the United States always go out there and tell the world that they have the best equipment in the world. They have the greatest military on the planet, that nobody's coming close. According to Donald Trump, when he's saying this, we have the greatest military in the world, nobody's coming close. That's how it do. That's how he does his thing. But this is what I feel from our first video that you've seen over there. For Mali to be able to decapitate the enemies like that, to be able to leave the enemy to no chance, it means Mali is doing a great job. So Mali is about to win the fight because the FLA are so depleted to the point that they are begging the Tuaregs in Libya to come and assist them. It means Mali is about to completely, capitulate the enemy. And now you have the United States coming in to talk about you want to support Mali in terms of military. Just tell us you want to establish your African base in Mali so that you can, secure your control over their minerals and every other thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't want none of this. You can give us your opinion on what you think about the United States talking about their military partnership, trying to offer their military expertise, yes, that's how to put it, to Mali, and talking about trying to establish a school of journalism. It looks more like they are tool. Look at France. France had a base. That's the military partnership. And they had France 24 and RFI, which were propaganda channel. United States want to bring a school of journalism. Just like the same colonial template. Remember, Thomas Sankara always says something, and Ibrahim Traore always quoted it, that colonialism is a badge today. Always come back to class the same way. It's the same pattern. You want to bring African, and you want to bring some, maybe CNN Africa or something like that, We all know what the mainstream media does, and we all know what Africom does in Africa, yeah? And the last thing is talking about they have to work with ECOWAS for the AES to enjoy these benefits, like because the United States believes that this is a benefit. So for the AES state to enjoy this benefit, they have to collaborate with the ECOWAS. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't answer that question. Now, I want you to imagine the United States telling the AES states to collaborate with ECOWAS. ECOWAS is subservient to the African Union. In fact, in my own opinion, ECOWAS might be subservient to some African Union. Is African Union even an organization? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest with ourselves, right? ECOWAS is subservient to the AU. African Union, 60%. Over 60%, let me not be specific, it's not 60, it's over 60% of the financial budget and expenditure of the African Union is being contributed by the European Union. That means the African Union is a subservient entity to the European Union. Now, the entire EU is subservient to the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, this collaboration is trying to incorporate the AES back into that, cocoon of slavery. What do you think? I'm just being, practical here. Just look at what it is, right? Based on what we can see on the ground. A lot of people are doing their talk, but AES states they're not talking the talk, they're walking the walk. They've talked the talk since, but now they're walking the walk, and we can see the result on the ground. Militarily, we can see the result on the line of contact. Ladies and gentlemen, they're gaining more territory more than ever. They are restoring peace. You can see what Mali is doing. As big as Mali is now on a peace accord with the people, right? And the people are uniting more than ever, right? And that is what I think we should have, not to have political flags of different parties. That's what you have in my country. But in Mali, in Niger and Burkina Faso, you see them waving the flag of their country. So the two set of people operate on a different territory entirely. And this is how patriotism, starts. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't lie, based on the track record of the United States, I won't really say the United States has the moral justification or the moral stance to give Mali any advice on how to move forward, because they are really, really moving forward in a geometric progression, and they're doing it good, and they're doing it great, and doing it fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, you can give us your opinion in the comment section below. It's your boy 72 Android signing out. Enough said. Now I'm going to ask a question. Do you think the idea of all ECOWAS country using ECO, apart from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, do you think is and Central African Republic, do you think is actually a good move? Do you think ECOWAS is trying to sabotage the effort of the AES? We want to see your comments in the comment section. We might be able to learn one or two from you. Nobody's an island. I love you all. Thanks so much for watching, and God bless you, man. You all are my VIPs. Much salute, much respect.